A very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the AFC House. My name is Claire Kim, and I'll take you through today's event, the AFC Futsal Championship Turkmenistan 2020 Qualifiers Draw. We have many distinguished guests today among us. I'd like to welcome especially AFC directors and head of department, team representatives, and also to the members of the media. The AFC Futsal Championship, the premier futsal competition in the continent, has grown from strength to strength. The previous edition was held in Chinese Taipei for the first time, and the upcoming edition will also set new records as it moves to Turkmenistan for the first time. The AFC Futsal Championship Turkmenistan 2020 qualifiers promises to excite once more as 31 participating countries compete for a place to be amongst the 16 elite teams in the final competition for the continental glory. Today's draw will be divided into the three zones, beginning with the Central and South Zone, followed by the East Zone, and finally the West Zone. Before we get to the Central and South Zone draw, to see who faces who, let's look at how it all works with this video.
AFC Futsal Championship 2020 Qualifiers Draw. The following 31 participating teams in the qualifiers will be divided by zones, namely East, ASEAN, Central and South, and West zones. All the participating countries within the respective zone will be seeded based on their ranking in the AFC Futsal Championship Chinese Taipei 2018. Central and South zones will be merged into one qualification zone, as Nepal is the only representative from the South zone. The selected hosting association of the AFC Futsal Championship 2020 finals will be given an automatic slot for the finals. However, if the selected hosting association decides to participate in the qualification stage and finishes in the top 3 or 4 positions in the zone, depending on the slot allocations for each zones, the next best team in the same zone will qualify for the finals. In the event the number of allocated slots are equal to the number of entries, all teams in the particular zone will gain automatic entry to the finals. The AFC Futsal and Beach Soccer Committee has pre-approved the slots allocation for the AFC Futsal Championship 2020, which fairly distribute the slots amongst the zones based on technical standards from the ranking of the previous edition. Ranking of countries. Order of draw and participating teams. Central and South Zone. Participating teams' zonal ranking. Seeding. Teams seeded 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and 5 to 7 will be placed in pots 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Following is the final seeding and the pot allocation. Order of the draw. Draw 1. Balls will be drawn from pot 3. The first to third balls drawn will occupy positions A4, A3 and B3 respectively. Draw 2. Balls will be drawn from pot 2. The first and second balls drawn will occupy positions A2 and B2. Draw 3. Balls will be drawn from pot 1. First and second balls drawn will occupy positions A1 and B1. Competition system. The competition will consist of a group of 4 teams and a group of 3 teams in each group, to be played in a league format, totaling to 9 matches, 3 matches per day over 3 match days. The group winner and runners-up from each group qualify to the final stage.
Now we're clear on how it's going to work. To conduct the draw, please welcome on stage Mr. Brian Johnson from Competition and Football Events Division.
Thank you, Claire. So as I explained earlier, we have 3 draws this afternoon. Of course, we'll start off the first draw, which is the Central and South Zone. And of course, as per the final seeding and pot allocation, we have 3 pots with us. We have pot 1, 2 and 3. And we will start off the draw from pot 3. So in pot 3, of course, we have 3 teams with us: Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and also Nepal. So the first drawn ball from pot 3, that will occupy position A4. Afghanistan. And the second drawn ball from pot 3, occupying position A3. Nepal. And the last ball from pot 3, that will occupy position B3. Is Turkmenistan, the host for the 2020 edition, which is next year. Now moving on to pot 2. In pot 2, we have Kyrgyz Republic as well as Tajikistan. So the first drawn ball from pot 2 will occupy position A2. Tajikistan. And the next drawn ball from pot 2, that will occupy position B2. Kyrgyz Republic. The best finish was 3rd place in the 2005 edition in Vietnam. Now moving on to the last pot, which is pot 1. And in pot 1, we have Islamic Republic of Iran as well as Uzbekistan. So the first drawn ball from pot 1, of course, will occupy position A1. Uzbekistan, the runners-up of the 2016 edition. Their best finish in this tournament. The last ball from pot 1, I think we know which team is it. Just to confirm, is Islamic Republic of Iran, the current holders of the competition. So with this concludes the draw for the Central and South Zone, and we were moving on to the next draw of this afternoon, which is the East Zone draw. But before that, let's have a look at the draw mechanism video that will explain the draw process.
East Zone Draw. Participating teams' zonal ranking. Seeding. The seeding, order of the draw and competition system for the East Zone follows the same principles as those outlined in the draw for the Central and South Zone, except that there will be a playoff match between the 2 second-placed teams, with the winner joining the group winners and runners-up in qualifying for the finals.
So as explained in the mechanism video, we have actually a similar concept with the first draw. We have 3 pots with us, and of course we'll start off with pot 3. And in pot 3, we have 3 teams: Hong Kong, Macau, as well as Mongolia. So let me start with the draw. So the first drawn ball from pot 3, that will occupy position A4. Hong Kong. The next drawn ball from pot 3, that will occupy position A3. Mongolia. And the last ball from pot 3, occupying position B3. Macau. So moving on to pot 2, and in pot 2 we have 2 teams: People's Republic of China as well as Korea Republic, and the first draw from this pot will occupy position A2. People's Republic of China. The best finish was 4th place in the 2010 edition. And the next drawn ball from pot 2, that will occupy position B2. Korea Republic, the runners-up in the 1999 edition. So moving on to pot 1. And in pot 1 we have Japan as well as Chinese Taipei. The first drawn ball from pot 1, that will occupy position A1. Chinese Taipei. Their best finish is as quarterfinalists in the last edition, which is 2018 in Chinese Taipei as well. Now the final ball in pot 1, which I think we know the team. Oops. Sorry. We have Japan, the runners-up of the previous edition as well as the 3-time winner of this particular competition. So this concludes the draw for the East Zone, and we are moving on to the third draw for this afternoon, which is the West Zone draw. But before that, let's have a look at the draw mechanism video that will explain the draw process for the West Zone.
West Zone Draw. Participating teams' zonal ranking. Seeding. Teams seeded 1 to 2 will be placed in pot 1. The third seeded team in pot 2, the 4th to 6th teams in pot 3, and final 3 teams in pot 4. Competition system. The seeding of teams and order of draw follow the same principles as the East, Central and South Zone, except with more teams, the West Zone will consist of a group of 5 teams and a group of 4 teams. In addition to the group winners and runners-up qualifying into the final stage, there will be a playoff match between the 2 third-place teams, with the winner booking their place in the finals. This will conclude the draw for the AFC Futsal Championship 2020 Qualifiers draw.
In this edition of the competition, which is the West Zone qualification draw, we have a record number of 9 teams here that is going to participate in this particular qualification competition. Of course, the mechanism is slightly different from the other 2 draws because of the number of teams that we have, but the principles remain the same. It is classified as per the seeding as well as the pot allocation, and we have pot 1, 2, 3 and 4, and of course we will start from pot 4 to pot 3, pot 2 and pot 1. The reason that we have just 1 ball in pot 2 and 3 in pot 3 is because of the disparity of ranking, and that is why it's allocated as per the technical standard and ranking as well, to give an equal opportunity for the teams and in order for the draw to be conducted in the spirit of fair play. So let me start off with pot 4. And in pot 4 we have 3 teams with us, which is Kuwait, Oman as well as Palestine. So let me start the draw from pot 4. First drawn ball from pot 4 will occupy position A5. Kuwait, the semi-finalists in the 2014 edition. The next drawn ball from pot 4, that will occupy position A4. Palestine, the quarterfinalists in the 2001 edition, their best finish to date. And the last drawn ball from pot 4, that will occupy position B4, is Oman, first time participating in this tournament. So moving on to pot 3, so I will draw 2 balls from pot 3 and the remaining ball will move to pot 2 as I explained. Now first draw from pot 3, of course we have with us Saudi Arabia, Qatar and UAE in pot 3, and the first drawn ball from pot 3 that will occupy position A3 is United Arab Emirates. And the second drawn ball from pot 3 that will occupy position B3 Saudi Arabia. And as I explained, I will move the ball from pot 3 to pot 2. And please allow me to continue with the draw. So in pot 2, the first drawn ball from pot 2 that will occupy position A2 is Bahrain, the quarterfinalists of the 2018 edition and their best finish to date this tournament. And the next drawn ball from pot 2 that will occupy position B2 Qatar. And moving on to pot 1. In pot 1, of course, we have the two most top-ranked team, Iraq and as well as Lebanon. So the first draw from pot 1, of course, will occupy position A1. Iraq, the fourth place team in the 2018 edition, which was their best finish to date. And the final ball from pot 1 that will occupy position B1. Lebanon, the quarterfinalists of the 2000 edition as well. So with that concludes the draw for the West Zone as well as the qualification draw for the AFC Futsal Championship Turkmenistan 2020. I would like to wish all the teams best of luck and may the better team qualify to the final round of the competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Ladies and gentlemen, let me recap the draw results. In the Central and South Zone, Group A, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Nepal, and Afghanistan. For Group B, Islamic Republic of Iran, Kyrgyz Republic, and Turkmenistan. For the East Zone, in Group A, we have Chinese Taipei, China PR, Mongolia, and Hong Kong. For Group B, we have Japan, Korea Republic, and Macau. For the West Zone, in Group A, we have Iraq, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Palestine, and Kuwait. For Group B, we have Lebanon, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. We'd like to wish the teams the best of luck and may the matches be played in the spirit of fair play. This marks the end of the draw today, and the match schedule will be distributed shortly. Thank you.